All right, we're back. Week number 4. The weeks are flying by. Big dog, little dog. We're about a quarter way through the season. Um, it's been crazy, man. It's been crazy. It's been flying
It
by.
is. It is flying by. Great games, great football. I love football season. It feels like we're in full swing.
It is. It's really
Exciting
heating
stuff.
up now.
Exciting stuff.
After the first month, you kind of get a feel of what teams are.
Yeah,
So I
you
think
do.
this
I
next
agree.
month will be big for everyone. It's make it or break it. Basically, like if you got off to a hot start, uh, you can continue that. If you got off to a slow start, you better make it up right now or it's over.
Yeah, definitely. And there's more time to do that now with the 17 game season. And
True.
it's our first year with a 3 week preseason, and I don't know. I feel like teams are a lot different than they are from week 1 to week 4. I think this is the biggest change like you'll see from most teams. I think every team is very different from when they were week 1.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, we'll see how the rest of it plays out. I mean, any 2-2 team, well, any 2-2 team could still easily make their way to the top, and vice versa. Any team that's like 3-1, I mean, they might not stay there. We'll see. We'll get into that too. But let's just go through the games pretty quick today. Cincinnati at Jacksonville. Cincinnati's 3-1. Jacksonville's now 1-3 or 0-4. Trevor Lawrence looked pretty good actually. They kind of fell apart there in the second half, but I think it was the Joe Burrow show there for a bit.
Yeah. Pretty low market Thursday night football, especially compared to the one we have this week. I
True, true.
think the biggest storyline coming out of the Jaguars is Urban Meyer getting a lap dance, which is
Yeah, that was
very
hilarious.
Jaguars. Um, but yeah, I think the Bengals are 3-1. They're looking good. They're right in there for the contention for the division. Maybe we should be talking about this team more. Trevor Lawrence finally played a complete game, I should say, no turnovers, which was a good sign. Joe Mixon injury could be struggling for the Bengals, but those are like the key points. It wasn't a super interesting game, even though it was
No,
close. Um,
I think
Jamar Chase
Cincinnati's a
probably,
team. Yeah, a team to keep an
yeah,
eye on, but we'll see.
yeah, definitely a team to keep an eye on. I'm not sure if I'm ready to put them in the a
I'm
guaranteed
definitely
playoff spot
not.
or
Yeah,
anything.
they got to play the Browns or the Ravens first. They got to play someone.
Right.
If you think about it, the Steelers and Jaguars both could be bottom 5.
Definitely.
Vikings,
And they do have a loss to the Bears on their
oh
record.
yeah, they lost to the Bears. They kind of were getting smashed by the Bears. The Vikings are, I think they're pretty good. I don't think they're bad, but they also should have lost that game, depending on
Yeah.
how you view it.
I mean,
Uh,
they're all losing records of teams they beat. Definitely.
all right, let's move on. Washington 34 at Atlanta 30. So this was kind of like this was a fun game. There's a bunch of scoring, a bunch of crazy plays the whole game, but I think ultimately it's going to be pretty inconsequential. Washington looks like they really don't have a chance in this division with Dallas being looking
Yeah,
really hot, and Atlanta's going to finish last in the SC South without a doubt.
yeah. I think these are probably two of the worst defenses in the league. I mean, they
Yeah,
can't
isn't
stop
that
it.
crazy? We'll talk about it later, but Washington defense again, another disappointing week,
Yeah,
giving up
for
30
sure.
points. It's bad, especially given the expectations coming into the season.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's you can talk about fantasy wise. Cordell Patterson is number 3 running back after this week.
I mean, he's
Calvin
honestly maybe
Ridley,
he's just like one of the best players in the NFL right now.
definitely a hot take, but at
He's
the age of
definitely a
30,
player. Yeah.
this is definitely already. I think it might be his most productive season, not kick returning. Um, so interesting thought. Matt Ryan does still look like he needs to be out, even though this is probably his best game.
He played well, I thought.
No, he did.
He threw some nice balls. That I love that Cordero Patterson he mossed the corner. That was sick. I mean, that was a good throw by Matt Ryan too.
But Calvin Ridley, maybe he's not ready for the step that we thought he was going to take at the beginning of the year. He's been okay, nothing special. Doesn't get a huge amount of separation. Doesn't have the hands to just kind of get or the deep playability that
He just needs some relief.
some
Like,
players had. And yeah, it might have to do with some kind of relief. Kyle Pitts also has been pretty disappointing.
yeah.
Um, so that's the Falcons, and for the football team, Terry McLaurin's still balling. Heineke played a pretty good game as well. McKissick is basically the Cordell Patterson of the Washington football team. These teams felt similar in their running room.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it was a pretty throwaway game on the weekend, and probably wouldn't have much meaning on the standings, but definitely an interesting football game just to watch.
Yeah, let's move on. Buffalo 40 over Houston 0. I think Houston is just like with Davis Mills, they're probably easily the worst team in the NFL, and it kind of feels bad because without Davis Mills, without Taylor, they showed fight, but I don't think there's much to read into here. Buffalo's obviously a pretty solid team. Their defense is playing really well, and Houston's just not. It's complete domination.
Yeah, I think it's really unfair to say Houston. Well, Houston was bad. You're right. They lost 40-0, but their defense played well to start the game mostly.
Yeah, I mean, Davis Mills had 5 turnovers. Yeah. So it definitely wasn't on the defense. I don't think they're bad, but
I think they did well. I think they made a lot of stops in short yardage situations, and they got to pick off Josh Allen in the first drive. And
Josh Allen has not looked that sharp, to be honest. This whole year he hasn't looked sharp. A lot of mistakes, and he just doesn't get punished because the teams are playing are atrocious.
Yeah, you could argue that, but you can also look at it on a different side and say 3 back-to-back absolute blowouts for the Bills, and maybe they're the best team in football. But it's definitely a conversation for later in the power rankings.
Yeah, and it'll be a big topic as they play the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football this week. That'll be quite the game. That'll see what Josh Allen we're looking at. Although the Chiefs defense is the worst defense.
Yeah. But it's also a test to the Bills defense. We're currently number 1 in the league. Like, is this defense legit? We're really asking. Because if they are, then the Bills are definitely
I definitely think they're good. I just don't think they're number 1 in the league. It helps when you play Davis Mills.
Statistically right now,
yeah.
Number 1 in the league, yeah.
But usually that's a reflection of the offense
teams
too.
You play.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Chicago 24, Detroit 14. This was kind of just a sorry game from Detroit. They had a lot of things go bad. They had obviously that botched fumble that turned into like a pick.
Ugly.
They got to the red zone a few times, and every single time something would happen. They get stopped on 4th down. They couldn't convert, and so this game kind of got out of hand for Detroit. Even though the whole time they were moving the ball well. The other big thing, Justin Fields. What did you think about his play?
Definitely an improvement off of his first week. I still thought he struggled, was pretty inaccurate, but his connection with Darnell Mooney is definitely something to look at. I mean, both guys are so young, so talented. You'd hope that it can work out.
Yeah, he threw some great balls, but Detroit didn't really challenge him, I'd say.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think the Detroit secondary is one of the worst in the league. I mean, Okuda's out. Not that he was great when he played. Amani Oruwariye is the starting cornerback on that team, and he's a 5th round pick, 2nd year player, or 3rd or 2nd year player. It's not ideal. It's not ideal.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Detroit tested him, and I thought Detroit actually probably could have won this game if they just weren't so awful in the red zone.
Yeah, they were moving the ball for sure.
All right, let's hop on. Indianapolis 27, Miami 17. This was kind of a hard game to watch. I mean, Carson Wentz is not the most entertaining quarterback to watch. It's this whole season it's been dink and dunk, sack, dink and dunk, sack, a little run play, and then same with Jacoby Brissett. He doesn't throw the ball down the field.
Yeah. It was pretty boring. Not much to say about the game. I think both teams probably are looking at playoff years, especially coming in hoping for playoff years. I think I'm officially out on both teams. Maybe the Colts have a chance just because of the Titans screw up we'll get to in the division, but I don't know. They just look really, really unexplosive as a team. And the defense isn't as good as we thought it was, even though it played pretty well today. But that's against a backup quarterback and some weapons all over that were out.
Yeah, I feel bad for Miami just because I think they have a pretty solid they're on the rise, and that Tua injury just delays his development. Obviously, I don't think they're contending, but that's rough. It's rough. They also don't own their own pick next year. They have San Francisco's pick. But San Francisco also looked like they could get him a pretty decent pick. So we'll see how that ends up shaping. Any other thoughts in that game?
No, let's move on to the
Yeah.
Cowboys-Panthers game. Big game. My thoughts initially is, watching the game, it was actually a really close game at first. The Panthers came in with a halftime lead, and then you just saw the Cowboys pull away. Created turnovers, Trayvon Diggs now has 5 picks in 4 games. A ridiculous stat line. Extremely unsustainable. And people on Overreaction Mondays talking about Trayvon Diggs, is he the best corner in the league? Oh God, I can't.
He gives up too many. He gives up too many plays. He's been making plays. I'll say that first one by Darnold was knuckleheaded. They kind of killed their chances. After that, it spiraled out of control.
I think, yeah. I mean, they look at the passer rating allowed when targeted. It's like 45 or something like that. Something like 40. Like if he's got 5 picks in 4 games, think about how badly he's giving up touchdowns and yards. Like,
he's by no means locked down. He's made a few plays.
Not locked in. He's definitely
that second pick has got some good ball skills. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, I think he showed good ball skills throughout the season. Makes good breaks on the ball, really fast, athletic. But I mean, don't get it twisted here. Trayvon Diggs was one of the worst corners in the league last year, and he still has a lot of traits that he needs to improve on.
Oh, I'm not getting twisted. I'm a big believer in that. Trayvon Diggs. I'll say though, I thought last year he was garbage, and people in Dallas were saying, "Oh, this guy's been good for us." I'm like, "No, bro, he's been bad." But this year he's actually, I can't say he's straight garbage because turnovers matter. They blew that game wide open just because of him. So that was good. I thought Carolina, played well in the first half. Darnold looked good, and then in the second half, it was just those 2 picks. Their defense couldn't stop them after that, and it kind of lost the game for them. But overall, I was impressed with both teams overall. Honestly, Dallas looks scary in the NFC, and the Panthers are definitely a team to watch out for in the future because you know how young they are in defense and offense. So
yeah, I think people are discounting the Panthers a lot. I mean, they lost to the Cowboys. It was a little bit of a blowout for a second there.
A little bit.
I thought they played pretty well, and I think their defense played well. Even though they gave up so much points.
I mean, it wasn't great.
I wish we wouldn't say, "Oh, this is the Panthers of old," and they're going to go back to winning 5 games this year. No, this team's going to win some games. Maybe they won't make the playoffs, but 8 and 9 at their stage of their rebuild is not something to laugh at, So
I think they got potential.
Definitely say it on both teams' fans. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me the biggest takeaway is Dallas looks scary because their O-line. I mean, it's coming in this game. The Panthers with the number 1 rushing defense. They have a pretty solid young D line. They got Burns, Brown, Morgan Fox has been playing well for them, and some good linebackers. And the Dallas O-line controlled that line of scrimmage for the most part. And so if Dallas O-line is humming, Dallas already has a bunch of weapons. We knew that. It'll be interesting to see how they shape up. I will say I think their defense is a little fluky right now. I don't think they're very good. I think they're better than they were last year, which was probably one of the worst. But I think they're still bottom 20. Or not bottom 20, in the 20s. But we'll see. We'll see how it shapes up. All right. Do you want to hop on to the next one?
Yeah, I can start it off. So this was Cleveland, Minnesota. We were high on the Vikings, both of us, after they beat the Seahawks. We think they're a good team, but really, what happened here is the defensive line of the Browns in back-to-back weeks have just completely dominated. I think the stat line was 46 dropbacks and about 28 were pressured for Kirk Cousins, and like a large portion of those coming on four-man rushes, which is just a ridiculous stat line, and you can't. It's the same concern for the Vikings is offensive line. They can't consistently draw back without running the ball a lot. And they're pretty one-dimensional on offense, even with Kirk Cousins playing this well because of that offensive line. And I think if the Browns can be successful defensively, because right now they're not clicking offensively, it's pretty clear. The Jarvis Landry is kind of like this. The
Baker
juice
played real bad too.
Yeah, I think he played bad. I think Odell and Baker, maybe it just doesn't work. I'm not sure why. You'd think it would on paper. They've got
been 2 years.
Talented. It's been 2 years, and they've got really nothing to show for it as a duo.
Yeah.
And so they're missing Jarvis Landry. I think their offensive line is still pretty dominant, but I'd be concerned about both teams. I look at both teams worse than I did um, last week because I thought both these teams have potential to be great teams and playoff teams.
Yeah, I mean, so last week we saw the Vikings trounce the Seahawks, and their O line wasn't great, but they remediated that by throwing super quick. So I kind of figured they would do similar things, right? They'd run the ball because their run blocking, their O line is actually pretty solid run blockers. They're terrible in pass pro. But I thought they would run the ball and then be able to throw quick because the receivers can get open. But I gotta watch more of that game. But I'm surprised I couldn't get that quick passing game open, which would have alleviated the pressure of the D line of Cleveland. But you're right, Cleveland's D line just dominated it. Miles Garrett is an animal.
He is. I think he's clearly.
I thought Kirk, but I do think Kirk played definitely not
not to
up
that
to the level he's been playing, and if he doesn't play that well, their ceiling is limited. The rest of the roster isn't that good, as we saw from their D line. If Kirk's not playing, or their O line, if Kirk's not playing well, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Cleveland though, I mean, Baker really struggled. Their offense is not the most explosive, but the fact that their defense is really turning on right now makes me think they're good. Because coming into the season, the question mark was their defense for me. Yeah, their big question mark. Because the way their O-line plays, they can run on anybody. It'll be tough to, see if Baker can carry, but they might not have to if their defense is legit.
You're right.
Let's move on to another surprising game. New York Giants upset the New Orleans Saints at home for the first time this year, 27-21. It's an interesting game. I thought Daniel Jones played it really well. He had some nice balls in there. I even think Jameis Winston played pretty well overall. But I mean, when it came down to it, Jones made that one play. He got everyone involved. I believe Galladay had like 100+ yards. Yep. Kadarius Toney looked pretty good out there.
I called it out last week. Yeah,
he looked electric, man. Yeah, he was distributing the ball well. Saquon Barkley had that deep bomb on Lattimore.
First good game since
he played well. Yeah. I think for me, the Saints. We'll talk about it later, but
question mark. Yeah,
the Saints are fraudulent to me. They're a little fraudulent. I don't think they make the playoffs. I don't know where they finish, but I'm not sold on the Saints, not one bit.
I think I agree with you. I think right now they're on the outside looking in, but I do want to see how this offense looks with Michael Thomas. I do think he's a big piece, huge weapon, and they can totally open it up. And that's really all I gotta say about the Saints. They're kind of like the same team. They're consistently inconsistent, is what they've shown so far, and there's not much to say. But to Danny Dimes' credit, I am not a Danny Dimes supporter. You're not a Danny Dimes supporter.
No, but he's been playing well.
But yeah, he's got 2 games this week where I think he's in the top 7 in PFF grade for quarterbacks, and he did look good today. He looked good today with weapons that were out a lot. He is number 1 and number 2 guy usually. His favorites, at least. I'm not sure if they're the best, but Slayton and Shepard were both out, and he distributed the ball well. You took advantage of Kenny Galladay. He looked good with Kadarius Toney. Saquon got involved. The offense looked pretty good, and they deserve to win this game, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And their defense finally played a better game. They've been playing pretty bad throughout the previous games. So I think their defense showing up on Sunday was good. Helped them. All right, let's transition. Yep. New York Jets 27 at Tennessee. Or was this a game in New York? I don't know.
I believe it was in New York, actually.
Okay. New York Jets 27 over the Tennessee Titans 24 OT. Yeah, Zach Wilson finally made some decent throws. He had that one bad pick. I'm not sure if that was on Corey Davis or not, if he stopped or not, but that was bad, obviously. But he had some nice throws. That deep bomb to Corey Davis was impressive. Overall, he was leading the offense fairly well, with at least given the poor O-line play they've been having over there. And then on the flip side, I felt like Ryan Tannehill really missed A.J. Brown and Julio Jones because Josh Reynolds got hurt too, and there was just no one to throw to. Like no one seemed open in the red zone. They're struggling. Yeah, it kind of felt like a trap game for Tennessee.
Yeah, I lost a lot of money on that bet. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a little sad about it. But there's not really much. I got a few notes from both teams. I think the Jets are still. I don't think you guys got to get confused. This is a bad game in Tennessee. I don't think the Jets are a good team. They're
No,
not
I don't think
even.
they're good. I think
They're
their
going to be
defense is
14.
scrappy though. Their defense
Yeah,
is
I agree,
scrappy.
and I think what's so funny about this game is that Zach Wilson's the interception leader in the NFL, and people are already talking about how he's the best rookie quarterback just because he's the only one that put up a decent performance. And that's just how bad the rookie quarterback
Better
is.
than Mac Jones. I thought Mac Jones played well last week.
Yeah, yeah, he did play okay.
I
He
mean,
had like 55 passing attempts, put up
Zach
17
Wilson didn't
points.
play
There's a
well
lot of things
either,
you could
but
say. I mean, Zach Wilson let a game-winning drive. He did, which is the first rookie to do that this year. So I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying how bad is the rookie class this year that you can say
oh,
with
that's
Zach
bad.
Wilson contention.
That's bad.
And then to your credit, you're completely right about the AJ Brown point, Julio Jones point. I think Ryan Tannehill felt that, and he took a lot of sacks maybe he didn't need to take,
He
playing a
didn't
little bit
trust
hero
other
ball.
guys. Yeah.
He didn't, and
Or maybe they
I,
weren't open
hate,
though.
I hate the fact that people are going to continue to hate on Tannehill. Oh, without 3 stars, without AJ Brown, without Julio healthy, they can't win the game. I think that's unfair because I think not only were they both out, but what he had 0 receivers like at all. This team relies on the fact that they can be explosive because they're going to run the ball 30 times, and if they stack the box with 8 guys, it's going to be difficult no matter who it is. Uh, it's really tough for the Titans to win with a terrible offensive line, terrible receivers. I don't know what you expect Tannehill to do. He isn't Patrick Mahomes, and even Patrick Mahomes, I think, would have struggled in that scenario.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he didn't play that well. I thought Tennessee O line struggled too.
Yeah,
Again, Jets D is kind of scrappy. If you think about even in their other games, they've actually played pretty well on defense. Their offense has just left them out to dry. So there's potential for them to be decent. The defense.
yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
KC at 42, Philly at 30. This is in Philly. What do you think about this game?
My initial thoughts is that this Kansas City team feels like 2018 again. I'm not sure it was the 2018, but it was Patrick Mahomes' first year where they couldn't stop a nosebleed, and I think it's going to be that again. This defense does not look good. It can't stop the run. It gives up explosive plays. However, I do think the Chiefs are the best offense in the league. I think they've gotten 6 punts on the year, 1 3-and-out. Tyreek Hill. If you let Tyreek Hill cook, you're gonna lose. It's clear. Maybe he's the best receiver in the league. A lot of people have been saying it. I don't think it's a terrible take. If you gotta stop the explosive plays, you know how damaging it is for a team to give up a 60-yard touchdown. It's not gonna. And
Well,
that's
what they did do is they completely took away Kelsey.
they did. They
One
completely
catch.
took away Kelsey, and they played. They gave their safeties a little help to deal with Tyreek downfield, and I don't think that's the formula to win. And I think no matter how you attack the Chiefs, they're going to be effective. They're just going to be effective, and you have to take your positions widely. So for a team like the Seahawks, for example, where we're not very consistent on offense, and they've had 1 3-and-out in the season. I think we had 5 to start the game against the Niners. It would be tough to beat a team like that. So there's definitely value in the Chiefs. I think they still should be favored in almost every game.
Yeah, so I think I see it a little differently. They're like the 2018 Chiefs, but they're also invincible like the 2018 Chiefs.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the Philadelphia could have won this game outright had they just not fallen apart in the red zone. I think they kicked 3 field goals from in their 10, maybe in their 2 from their 10, another in their 15, and they could win the game outright at that point. They were not stopping Philadelphia at all. I thought Philadelphia had a few calls not go their way. Devonta Smith touchdown was taken away. Yeah, so I mean, KC offense is obviously good. I think Philadelphia's defense is pretty bad right now. I just don't know like how if this offense is even good enough with the way this defense is playing. It basically requires the offense to be perfect. Like they were. So against the Philadelphia Eagles, on every drive they scored a touchdown except one. They got a field goal, and it felt like they still could have lost. So if that's the case, and you're still starting Andrew Sorensen, then I just don't know. I don't know if this team like is going to get out of the AFC. I don't know.
Gives me Sendejo vibes.
They're obviously very competitive, but
Yeah,
I just
I
am
think
worried about their long-term prospects because I don't see it getting much better on D.
I definitely understand your point, but to the comparison of the 2018 Chiefs, that 2018 Chiefs was an offside penalty away of winning the Super Bowl. So I definitely think they can win this. I definitely wouldn't be super worried if I was a Chiefs fan. Maybe not the dominant team that you expected going into the year, but still solid. Let's move on. Big divisional game. Probably what people thought was one of the biggest games. 2 3-0 teams, and they kind of just got away from the Rams here. Arizona 37, Rams 20. My initial thoughts was, that Sony Michel turnover, that Matthew Stafford turnover, those were killer, and Kyler Murray was just too explosive on offense. Chase Edmonds finally got involved in the run game and was successful. This team is scary, and I think J.J. Watt and A.J. Green both look like good signings to me after 4 games. A.J. Green has been successful. He had a 100-yard game last week, I think. Been good again today. J.J. Watt had a large amount of pressures today. I think he had around 8. And both players are doing well. The Cardinals, maybe they're the best team in the league. They're 4-0. They're the only remaining undefeated team. We thought this Rams team was easily number 1, and just like that, it's over.
Yeah, on paper, I'm not sold on their defense, but they're overperforming big time.
Yeah, I think so.
J.J. Watt struggled last year for sure, and now it'll be interesting. I thought you're right. Arizona kind of ran away with it in the first half. They had like 21, and then
just kind of got away from them.
Yeah, for me, the bigger story is the Rams defense kind of receding this year. Like last year, they were dominant, easily number 1 in the league. This year, they're definitely showing signs of weakness. I know their scheme is okay to give up the run, but 200 yards you're going to lose the game if you're letting a team run for 200 yards, and the way that Kyler Murray can take advantage. So for me, it's the Rams defense not looking too hot. Their offense didn't play well. Matt Stafford struggled, but this game was kind of a blowout most of the way.
Well, an interesting point about that is maybe that Brandon Staley loss was a lot bigger than we thought. Look at how successful the Chargers are running that scheme. When in a place where they thought they had no DBs, Asante Samuel Jr. has turned into a top corner in the league. Derwin James looks as dominant as ever. Maybe that was a big story. We'll talk about it more in the Chargers game, but not much more to say. You ready to move on?
Yeah, I will say I think the Rams are better than this, though. I think if they play again, this game's closer.
I think
it was kind of a letdown spot because they just came off a big win against Tampa Bay. Now they come to a division game. Tough. I mean, it's a letdown spot. It'll be fine. Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, moving on. Seattle, San Francisco. I'll start us off. Obviously, I'm not sure if we're going to do a Seattle recap this week, but to say we'll talk about the game then. I think the Seahawks have been a team of 2 halves all year. I think that's a real concern.
100%.
Like I said, they started the game with 5 3-and-outs. I think it was about 200. They had about 190 yards to our -9 at one point. It was really scary. I thought this was going to be a blowout. And it kind of we just. I'm not sure really what happened, but we kind of just won. I still look at it back and see how we were up, 28-7, I think at one point.
Yep.
The defense, while making stops, was giving up yards. We
were up 21-7.
21-7, and then what? 13, then 28.
Yeah, we gave up the.
I just feel like a lot of things went in our favor that were lucky. The kickoff fumble, Mitch Wishnowsky.
I agree. I will say though, like for the first what was it, 20 minutes of game time, maybe 25 minutes. After that first drive for the Niners, it felt like they really just were struggling, man.
No, you're right.
And the fact that they couldn't pull away, the fact they couldn't even get like 14, I know they missed a field goal there, but the fact they couldn't even get another touchdown given all the opportunities they had, it just felt like the Seahawks were definitely still in it. And we saw that once the Seahawks started getting going on offense, they ran a few play actions. They had nice pass to Alex Collins and then DK on 3rd and 1. Once it got going, it felt like the Niners you could feel the energy kind of leave the Niners, because their defense played well for the most part, and then all of a sudden it's a tie game going into halftime. when the yardage disparity was like 50 yards, 200 yards. So, I mean, to your point, we kind of just won out of nowhere. It just felt like Niners could not take advantage of any of their wins on defense.
To their credit, definitely George Kittle definitely looked like that was a super scary play. Doesn't look like anything serious, but he definitely looked like he was slow out there, injured.
Jimmy threw that hospital ball.
Yeah, and it was scary. And Jimmy obviously let out of the game. I know Jimmy wasn't playing great, and you could argue that maybe this is better in the long term, but I mean, it's never easy for a coach to change a scheme so drastically from one half to another. So that definitely had an effect.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't talk about it yet, but Trey Lance came into the game. So Jimmy was reported to have a calf injury. He might play this week, but apparently he couldn't finish the game.
Yeah.
And then Trey Lance came in. He looked raw as heck. He was inaccurate. He threw a few slants that were like way out. He had a play action pass that he just like threw in the dirt or something. Like a rollout. He was rolling out and he just tried to throw it to the receiver and just hit the dirt. He looked really raw, but I will say this: one part he did look very athletic. Like
that read option can get them yards.
If they get going, I mean, if they get a scheme going for him,
how good their offensive line is, it's definitely possible.
Like throwing the ball is going to be rough for him. I can already tell. Like making those quick reads and quick throws, he needs to work on that a lot. And his touch too. There's no touch. He was just laser beaming balls. But he can make plays with his legs enough to probably, stay on the field.
Yeah, and who would have thought Deebo Samuel's gonna be like top of every statistical category after this week? Maybe he didn't deserve that much yardage.
Well, we gift wrapped him a 73-yard touchdown,
but yeah, it's still definitely up there. And I don't really have much more to say about this. We'll talk about the Seahawks a lot. Obviously, you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, maybe not this week, but we'll definitely talk about it. So moving on. A game that kind of disappointed. Baltimore 23, Denver 7. What really happened here is the Teddy injury. Drew Lock is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think it's official for me to say that. It was already really sketchy, but I'm ready to say that. I think Baltimore is a really strong team, but they have fatal flaws that could cost them. And they kind of
their blitz got to both Lock and Teddy, I thought.
Yeah. They do look strong on defense this year. Maybe they're not as overrated as we thought they were. I'm not sure. It is a we'll see on the Ravens still. I'm not ready to put them in my top 5, even though some people are ready to put them in their top 3. I do think Lamar is great. Obviously, the play at the end of the game was controversial. I don't hate it. They clearly make an effort to do that. It's a big thing for the Ravens. They do it every week. Let's get 100 yards. Let's dominate. Punch them in the mouth. And if they want that, if that's going to fire up their locker room, then I think it was a good call by John Harbaugh. And I think it will.
Yeah, I don't like it, but whatever. My comments are Denver came back down to earth. Yeah. I thought they just struggled with the blitz. I don't think Denver's a bad team, though, so we'll see. Let's move on to an actual bad team, Green Bay versus Pittsburgh. Green Bay 27, Pittsburgh 17. Pittsburgh had kind of a fluky – had a nice pass to Deontay Johnson early on to take the lead, but from then on, it kind of felt like Green Bay, not even clicking on all cylinders, handled the Pittsburgh Steelers easily. Pittsburgh 1-3 is slowly turning into one of the bottom teams in the AFC. Probably one of the bottom teams in the league. Maybe not at the tier of the Jets or the Jaguars, but pretty close. Ben Roethlisberger needs to retire. Any other thoughts?
I think it's a Ben problem. It's just that simple. And I think
their O-line is bad too, though.
Yeah, you're right. Who knows? I hear a lot of people talking about how, Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers next year is going to be Tom Brady to the Bucs, which is just a weird thing to say while they play. But they definitely do have a lot of weapons, and it does seem to be a Ben problem. Najee Harris does look dominant every week. He looks like a freak of nature. It just sucks that he's getting touched 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
not much to say. I think the Packers. It's exciting to see Randall Cobb. That's a big thing that they struggle with. Maybe a second receiver. Maybe that's what he is. But showing his success, they obviously have a connection before. It's weird to say the Packers. They haven't really played anyone. I'd say I think the Niners maybe aren't as good as we thought they were. But this is teams was always going to be dangerous with Aaron Rodgers, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah, they're going to be good. I think they're going to
Adams
be good.
and Rodgers are going to be dominant. This offensive line is too talented not to have to be at least semi-successful, and they were semi-successful against a great defensive line. So I don't know. I wouldn't be worried about the Packers. They probably are going to compete for that first spot in the NFC.
All right, let's go to the final game of the Sunday slate. Tampa Bay 19, New England 17. The homecoming for Brady. That was an interesting game. Honestly, it was kind of the rain kind of slowed everything down, and I thought Bill Belichick had a nice showing. He really limited Tampa Bay, including the rain. He obviously summoned that. So it's kind of a slow-moving game because of that, but I thought my take on both teams, New England, with Belichick at the helm, they're going to be competitive in games. I think at the end of the season, they're not a playoff team. But the growth of Mac Jones is nice to see. He looks very poised out there. I think they need some explosive weapons for sure right now. Coming into the season, their best players like Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby Myers probably, yeah.
Yeah, so those guys are just like wide receiver threes on other teams. So, but there's potential there. The Buccaneers, I thought the rain slowed them down. I think this game could have opened up a little more, but they're also very hurt. They lost their 3 starting corners. Richard Sherman played the whole game after practicing for 3 times. That was impressive. But overall, I think these teams are who we thought they were.
I wouldn't be concerned about Brady long term, but it's definitely his worst game this season. He missed a lot of throws, even though Belichick put him nice.
But there's a few drops too. I gotta say.
Yeah, I think Brady. I wouldn't be worried about it. Gronk obviously was missing. Leonard Fournette had a great game all around. Which is exciting because we were questioning their run game a little bit. But not much to say. I think you covered it mostly.
All right, let's wrap up. Las Vegas at LA. It felt like a blowout. Las Vegas kind of creeped back in, but in my opinion, I think all these 3-0 teams kind of came back down to earth this week. Raiders, one of them. They've just been starting off too slow, so they've won 2 games, but they started off 14-0, and this is not going to be one of them. Chargers look legit. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think Herbie's a top 10 quarterback in the league. I think Eckler's was dominant today. With Mike Molina's emergence, this is scary. Receiving core, weapons everywhere, while playing so dominantly on defense. Like I said, Asante Samuel Jr. is coming out to be one of the best corners in the league right now. Derwin James, right back. We were scared about the injuries. He's right back to that elite level, maybe the best safety in the league.
He got beat on a touchdown, though.
He did get beat on a touchdown.
But he had that nice pick.
He does things that, he does things
but nice pick.
Do. I wouldn't be too concerned about the Raiders, though. I'm not thinking that the Raiders are out of it just because I don't think they're fraudulent. I do think there's concern. They're not as good as we thought. But
I just don't think they're going to win all these games that they're super tight in, which is basically they went to overtime twice already. They beat the Dolphins and the Raiders. Both games they probably could have lost. Ravens.
The Dolphins and the Ravens, yeah.
So I just don't think – I think they're a very feisty, scrappy team, but they're not competing for a championship yet. They just not there yet. And Derek Carr showed flashes of old Derek Carr.
But this was a little bit of a blowout. Yeah.
All right, yeah. So let's just talk about some of the biggest surprises through almost a quarter of the season, and then we'll get to our power rankings and wrap up. For me, I thought Washington defense, relative to expectation, has completely disappointed. They're bottom 3 statistically. They're bottom 3 in basically every category that matters right now, and they just haven't lived up to the hype. And it's kind of surprised. I think they have talent for sure, and I don't know what's happened.
Yeah. And then the second thing is talk about how dominant the AFC West and the NFC West have been. I think with Chiefs in the 4th position just goes to show how good that AFC West division is not losing records in both divisions. It's going to be tough to sweep that division or for either division, man. And you're going to see again. This week is a week for swapping those from the NFC West. At least you're going to see Seahawks Rams and you're going to see Cardinals Niners. And I would not be shocked at all if the Niners won. That's an upset alert right there. And Seahawks Rams always a good game. So.
Yep. So those are some of the biggest prizes. I mean, Chiefs are sole possession of last place in the AFC West, and they're not even bad. 2-2, but they look solid. right, let's just jump to the power rankings. Let's go. Do you want to go first or shall I?
I'll start us off because I think
All right, let's hear it.
we're gonna see some interesting things. My number one spot, I got the Buffalo Bills. I had them high last week at number 3.
I like
teams
it.
I had above were the Bucks and Rams, and I don't think they played well enough to hold that spot above them. And the Bills won 40-0. And you may have concerns about Josh Allen. I still think even the way he's playing right now, it's not great. He's still playing good enough to show this team is dominant if the Bills have a good defense. And I do think, however, this is wide open. I think the league is week to week. It is not guaranteed. It's a scary betting league.
Yeah.
You never know who's going to win. I think the Bills could lose to my 9th team on the list, which could be somewhere from the Chargers, the Cowboys, or I wouldn't be shocked. And
a lot of parity
vice versa.
Yeah.
And I think it's exciting for the league. And I think people might be a little disappointed that the Cardinals are not number 1. We've talked about it already. I think they're fraudulent. I'm not fraudulent, just not this elite team that everyone makes out. They're still going to be on the list. I don't even know if I still can't confidently say they're going to make the playoffs in that division. So, which I can confidently say the Bills will make the playoffs.
I think if they win next week, it'll be pretty hard for them not to.
Yeah, you're right.
Just as long as they don't fall off a cliff, it'll be pretty hard for them not to.
But with how difficult it is in the NFC West, you never know. They could just go on a streak of losing to good teams.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so that is your number. Who's your number 2?
My number 2 is the Cardinals, which I've already talked about, so I think we can move on. The Packers at 3. I think there's no real reason. Like I said, I think week 1, and this goes to show for both the Bills and the Packers, 2 week 1 defeats that look pretty humiliating. And now you look at them 3 weeks later. That was almost like preseason week 4. 3 weeks later, both these teams look drastically different.
It's week 1.
Just way better. 1. It was just week 1. I'm happy. I think the Packers are probably going to win the NFC right now, just because they have maybe the easiest lineup to do that. And then going on, I think, like I said, the Rams had game script against them. They're my number 4. Not much to say. I still think they're as dominant as last week. They show signs, but Matthew Stafford, I think, isn't as playing as well as people think he is for some reason. Not think he is for some reason.
Last week for sure he didn't play that well.
Yeah. And I don't think he's been super insane.
Oh, definitely.
And the Bucks at 5, I still believe in the Bucks. They're the Super Bowl winning team. I wouldn't get too worried about them. Even
they're a bit hurt.
Both game and a loss. They're a bit busted out of the corner. So you take it away.
Yeah, I got a much different top 5 than you. So the Browns, I got at number 1. And you may say, hey, why the Browns? Well, the Browns' biggest concern for me, I mentioned this earlier, is their defense. And with the improvement of, their secondary, their D-line playing really well, Jock, the rookie, a bunch of young guys stepping up, making plays, that their defense can play lights out. Their offensive line is dominant, and Baker just doesn't suck. They can win a lot of games. They could be 4-0 right now. Their defense just played a little better, and Baker just didn't suck as much, and they barely lost to the Chiefs. So I'm giving them the edge over the Bills coming in at number 2. I think you're right. I think these past wins have showed how dominant their roster is, or just how talented their roster is from top to bottom. Even when Josh Allen isn't playing well, he threw a few picks, he's made some bad throws, their defense has been good enough to really take advantage. I know it's been bad teams, but they've done their job. They completely dominated these bad teams and bad quarterbacks. Next, we got the Cardinals. I have to put them up here. Again, I don't think they're, on paper, the best team or the best team in the NFC, which I have them now. But with the way they're playing, they can beat anyone. Just the way Kyler Murray is dropping balls in the bucket, with their defense is playing, they're overperforming. It might not last, but right now they're overperforming. They smashed the Rams. I think they can take any team in the NFC right now. Certainly, I think they can beat the Bucks or the Packers. Maybe not guaranteed, but those teams have flaws as well. So I'm putting them at 3, top of the NFC right now. Then we got the Rams. I'm not dropping them too hard. I thought it was a letdown spot. They looked good coming into that game. They kind of struggled a little bit on defense, struggled a little bit on offense, but it's a divisional game. We'll see in this next matchup between Cardinals and Rams what goes down. But in general, I think the Rams are still a really solid team. I'm going to wrap it up, the 5th spot, with the Packers. And so I'm on the same boat as you. The Packers, back-to-back 13-3 seasons. They didn't suddenly fall off a cliff. They're hurt and they're still playing well. Week 1 is definitely an anomaly. When they get Elton Jenkins back, who didn't play, when they get Bakhtiari back, who didn't play, Zadarius Smith comes back. I'm not sure if he's done for the season or not, but Jared Alexander got hurt as well. So when they're healthy, which might round out at a perfect time, they might be a dangerous team. I do want to give quick shout-outs to Dallas and the Chargers. I think Dallas is going to creep into this top 5 pretty soon here with the way they're playing. They're firing on all cylinders on offense, and their defense is making plays. Hard to beat right now. They look really tough to beat. And the Chargers, similar. They've just been they've beaten some good competition. They've really beaten some good competition. So all the teams they've played, they've held them all to their own season lows. So the Chiefs, Dallas, Washington, and the Raiders, they've held them all to their season lows so far. So just some quick shout-outs.
To hammer your opponent, I'm not even going to think about it, but Chiefs were my number 6 coming out. One of the teams that I want to mention here, it's just what I was saying earlier. The 9th team could be the first team, in my opinion, in this league. It's nice. I think the Raiders and Broncos are still close. They're non-bad teams.
Raiders or Broncos? Who are you taking first?
I'm Team Raiders right now.
That's the quarterback.
The Ravens, too, are another team that's not on our list, but they're definitely a good team. No doubt about it.
No doubt. Yeah, the Ravens could be here. I have some question marks about their defense a little bit, but it's been pretty solid the last 2 weeks, I guess. Competition's suspect, but all right. Anything else you wanna wrap up with, or are we good to go?
No, I think we're good to go. Check out the Responsible Bet this Thursday.
Yes, sir.
We'll see about the Seahawks review. We'll talk about it.
Seahawks play Thursday, but maybe we'll do a recap of the
maybe a recap and preview tomorrow. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's homecoming week in Wazoo. That's why it's been busy for me. That was the unforeseen circumstances of yesterday. I know it sounds stupid. I agree. It does sound stupid. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Hey, go Cougs, baby.
Yeah, go Cougs, man. Damn the Beavers. That's the theme. Damn the Beavers.
All right.
I think we're gonna get dominated by the Oregon State. But
hey, you never know. They look pretty good this week.
You never
Washington
know.
State.
June DeLora looks okay. As little as Rolovich trusts him. But I'm ready to close the show.
All right. Yep. Responsible Bet Thursday.
Next
week.
Follow us on Twitter,
baby.
Instagram.
Follow us Instagram, Twitter. Check it out, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.
For sure.
All right.
See ya.